Picture this. You're walking home after a really long, exhausting day. You pass by a local bakery, and the smell of warm, fresh pastries just hits you. Suddenly, the urge to walk in and buy one feels, well, so much more important than your original plan to go home and cook a healthy dinner. Why does that happen? Why does waiting for a better outcome feel so unnaturally hard for us? A lot of the time, we treat this moment like a personal failure, right? Like it's just a lack of willpower. But in this explainer, we're going to look at the actual science behind this. And as we go through this, I want you to drop any feelings of shame or guilt, because when you feel that intense pull toward an immediate reward, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Your brain is literally just executing a completely normal, ancient biological function.
To really understand this, we have to look back at how our minds evolved. You see, the brain isn't flawed when it wants something immediately. It's actually just doing its ancient job of prioritizing what is closest and what's safest. Think about early humans. For them, waiting around for a reward was a massive risk. If you had food right in front of you, you ate it, because the future was entirely uncertain. Tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. So your mind is hardwired to give extra weight to whatever is right in front of you.
And this creates a constant, ongoing tug-of-war in our heads. On one side, you have the immediate reward. It's the sensation that feels good right now. It's vivid, it's real, and most importantly, it's certain. Your mind can instantly taste it, imagine it, and react to it. But on the other side, we have the future reward. And the big challenge here is that the future is incredibly abstract. It usually only arrives as this vague, delayed promise. Because of our biological wiring, the present is naturally almost always going to be louder than the future. So the crucial point is redefining what we're actually doing when we try to be patient. Delayed gratification is really the practice of trade-off thinking. It's choosing a later, usually larger or more useful reward over a smaller one that's available right this second. But notice something here. This isn't just about stubbornly saying no to yourself. It's actually a highly sophisticated negotiation between your current self and the clock. It's how your mind compares rewards across time. Because not all rewards are evaluated equally. Your brain is constantly running this complex calculation in the background. It looks at three main things: the size of the benefit, the delay, so how long you have to wait, and your confidence that it will actually happen. The brain uses these three factors to decide if a future payoff is actually really worth the wait. Let's look at a classic thought experiment to make this a bit more concrete. Imagine two envelopes. Envelope 1 contains a small amount of cash, and it's handed to you right now. Envelope 2 contains a much larger amount of cash, but it's going to arrive at some unconfirmed time later. Even if you logically know the second envelope holds more value, your mind naturally leans toward the first one. Why? Well, because it's immediate and it's certain. The mind naturally discounts things that are far away because they lack that comforting guarantee. To solve this, we have to recognize that because future rewards lack that instant sensation, they don't compete on equal footing with present rewards unless you mentally simulate them. Think of a future reward like a map. A map can tell you exactly where a great restaurant is, but a map doesn't taste like food. The present reward, on the other hand, is the meal already sitting hot on the table right in front of you. To make the future win, your brain actually has to work harder to make that map feel as vivid and appealing as the meal. And this brings us to a really crucial difference. People often confuse self-control with repression. Repression is trying to erase your desire. It's telling yourself, I must not want this. But we're human beings. We want things. That is entirely normal. Delayed gratification is vastly different. It says, I do want this, but I'm choosing a better timing. It's not about erasing desire. It's the intelligent act of organizing desire. Think of your mind like a web browser. Repression is like frantically trying to close a tab and pretending it was never open. But delayed gratification, that's just leaving the tab open and calmly deciding when you're going to return to it. You aren't fighting the existence of the urge, you're simply managing its timing. Which brings us to the most vital insight of this entire explainer. Delayed gratification is not about becoming someone who wants less. It is about learning how to value the future enough that it can compete with the present. We're going to keep returning to this idea, because this isn't a test of moral purity. It's simply about elevating the future so it actually gets a fair fight. Ultimately, every moment of temptation is a decision made under time pressure. The brain is juggling uncertainty, emotional cost, and invisible benefits. It's an investment where the payoff is indirect. It's exactly like watering a plant. You don't get instantly rewarded the second the water hits the soil. The payoff is delayed. You water the plant now, under time pressure, so the growth can happen later. But of course, we can't ignore the real world. A huge mistake people make is treating self-control as a fixed personality trait, assuming some people just magically have it. But in reality, self-control is a fluid skill. It's heavily influenced by context amplifiers. How tired are you right now? How stressed? How visible is the temptation? These environmental factors radically shift how hard waiting feels. You might be incredibly disciplined in the morning and then highly impulsive by the evening simply because your context changed.
Environment drives behavior. Think of a temptation placed right in front of you, like a microphone placed next to a speaker. That feedback loop gets louder and louder, incredibly fast. If you try to just out-willpower the noise, you'll eventually exhaust yourself. But if you simply remove the microphone, if you change your environment to remove the visual trigger, the situation instantly becomes manageable. So let's break down the actual mechanics of self-control. It is not a single exhausting muscle of willpower. Instead, it's a multi-layered support system. It involves attention, what you choose to look at; memory, keeping your long-term goal active; emotion, regulating the intensity of the urge; action, the physical steps you take; and environment, how much exposure you allow. When these layers work together, the choice to wait becomes remarkably easier. Let's look a little closer at that first layer, attention. Attention acts exactly like a camera zoom. When you focus solely on the temptation, the lens zooms in until that object dominates the entire mental frame. It feels urgent and massive. But self-control involves deliberately zooming out. When you pan the camera back, the larger context returns. Your long-term goals and the reasons you cared in the first place come back into view. The second layer is memory. A short-term urge is really easy to hold on to, but a future goal is fragile. It can fade the second you get distracted. So keeping the future visible in your working memory is absolutely essential. This is exactly why reminders, sticky notes, and visible budgets are so powerful. It's not because we're morally forgetful. It's because the future must be actively kept mentally alive in order to compete with what is physically right in front of us. This framework also explains our hardest days. Emotion turns up the volume on that do-it-now signal. The brain doesn't evaluate choices in a vacuum. It evaluates them through your current feeling state. A quick reward feels profoundly heavier and more necessary when you are stressed or exhausted. The temptation itself hasn't changed, but the emotional volume has. So emotional regulation, simply cooling down, is a foundational piece of this puzzle. Because of all this, true intelligent self-control rarely looks like some intense, dramatic inner fight. It actually looks like quiet, strategic prevention. It looks like step 1, stepping away from the kitchen; step 2, changing your visual setting to break the visual loop; and step 3, simply delaying the decision for 10 minutes. It works upstream to prevent the urge from becoming overwhelming in the first place. Over time, how do these daily micro-decisions add up? Well, the first time you delay gratification, it's a brand new decision. It costs high mental energy. But as you repeat this, it turns into a habit. It becomes a familiar route, and familiar routes cost almost zero energy. You are literally building a reliable pathway from your present self directly to a better outcome for your future self. Which brings us to the deepest layer of the entire system. When you practice this, you aren't just choosing between two objects. You're protecting your identity over time. Every single time you successfully delay gratification, you are keeping a promise to your future self. You're building self-trust. You're making that future version of you feel more tangible, more real, and infinitely more worth waiting for. So, here's the crucial point we must return to. Delayed gratification is not about becoming someone who wants less. It is about learning how to value the future enough that it can compete with the present. This changes everything. It's a total paradigm shift from viewing temptation as a moral failing to seeing it as an understandable, biological, time-based choice system. You just need to help the longer timeline win. So, the next time you feel that intense pull toward an immediate, vivid reward, I want you to just pause, recognize the microphone next to the speaker, zoom the camera out, and ask yourself this one question: what is this choice doing to my future self? Because understanding how this biological system works gives you the power to see beyond the moment, without ever needing to deny the moment. And really, that is where true control begins.